So today's session is about embracing the positive. And what we mean by embracing positive is how do we cultivate happiness? So going forward into our closing 2 sessions about a full introduction to mindfulness. Cultivating happiness is about intention and choice and giving yourself permission. And going back to all of the theory we've done, we are innately programmed according to our DMN, default mode network, and according to negativity bias, 2 psychological terms there, that we will always focus on the negative and not the positive because it kept our ancestors safe and alive. In the curve, constantly worrying about the next meal and scanning for predators. So that distortion of reality is a survival mechanism where fundamentally we have Velcro in our mind for bad, it sticks, and we have Teflon for anything good, it repels. So what do I mean by embracing the positive? Happiness, which is kind of I don't like the word happiness because happiness, there are 2 types of happiness, okay? There's the what's in it for me happiness, self-indulgence. It's like, Cadbury's caramel, here's the chocolate bar. But real, true, lasting happiness is the ability to embrace both the good and the bad in existence with resilience, and it's a skill. So really, the real happiness really should mean resilience rather than happiness is in I'm constantly having a good time. I'm stuffing myself full of buns and just, shopping my way into happiness. Way, hey. Now, it's a skill that we have to develop, this resilience skill, and there are 3 parts to it, apparently, according to psychology. Number 1, savouring. Number 2, gratitude. Number 3, self-appreciation. And it's all to do with how we look at ourselves. And there's a deep psychological meaning behind all of that, because it's all to do with compliments and appreciating who we are. Now, you've got to own it. Because when you accept a compliment, you can skillfully relate better and more compassionately to other people and get on with them. Because if somebody gives you a compliment, when you dismiss it, you are actually dismissing the person and you are actually breaking the communication chain with that other person. So what you're actually doing is you're brushing them aside and you're brushing their attempts to connect with you and to build a relationship with them. And it's almost like saying, get off, I don't want to be friends with you, in a way. So, because it all comes down to a term called interdependent causality. And I will come to that in a minute. But I'm going to quote Helen Keller, if you know who Helen Keller is, famous person. She famously said, when a door of happiness closes, another opens, but we often look so long at the closed door that we do not see the one that's open for us. And that's all to do with the Velcro again and the Teflon, isn't it? We're so busy focusing on the bad, we don't see the bad door that's closed. We don't see the opportunity of the other door that's happening. Because out of the 3 strategies of embracing the positive and accepting what yourself in self-appreciation, savouring, the act of savouring, is like mindful eating. You linger and dwell on the lovely experience of the food, but you also recognise that that experience goes as well. So yeah, it is constantly living in present moment of savouring rather than going, oh God, that's over. Oh, so sad. So dwelling on the experience. So yeah, practice mindful eating. We haven't done it, but mindful eating is quite good because mindful eating has been proven as a good way to balance people's weight. Because how many times have we sat with our dinner on our laps and we've had either a phone or the TV on and we're not actually taking any notice of what we're eating? And the more, if you savour your food, you're more likely to be full better and you're more likely to appreciate what you've got on your plate, because you're actually, when you practice mindful eating, you're not only thinking about the food and the whole sensation and the chewing of it, and you're actually thinking about where the food comes from, you know, appreciating, you know, the people who've delivered it, right from the person who's grown it, to the person who's picked it, to the person who's transported it to the supermarket, the person who's put it on the shelf, and the person who's probably delivered it to you as well. So if you're getting your food delivered, you're appreciating the whole chain of all these wonderful people who are key workers as well, aren't they? They're working so hard in Morrison's on your behalf, you know, and fruit pickers and things like that. So yeah, savour. Gratitude has been proven scientifically to improve our happiness, and it might be something you want to do. Buy a lovely, beautiful journal. I always go to TK Maxx. Sorry, this is not, I am not in any way plugging TK Maxx, but I have piles of journals. I have piles and piles and piles of journals. They're all stacking up now. I buy a very nice journal from there, and first thing in the morning, before you go to bed, journal with gratitude, things that you would often quite take for granted. And it's proven that even in a 2-week study of doing that 16% of people are less depressed. But imagine what would happen if it went beyond 2 weeks, that study. Gratitude letters. Well, we're doing something quite similar to that on Monday. 41% happier over a 6-month period. We take a lot of things for granted, and maybe during this time of social distancing, we've probably appreciated things a little bit more, because we might have taken for granted so many opportunities to do so many things. And there's so many things now that I'm never actually going to do anymore, because I just thought, why was I doing that? I certainly won't be queuing outside of a shop just to buy something, as they say in Fight Club. You know, you buy things you don't like. You buy things to impress people, for people you don't like. I think that's the quote, isn't it? I really like Fight Club. He writes, Chuck Palahniuk, he writes romance novels for men. And they're all sort of dysfunctional, but they find peace and love at the end of it. Don't he? Sort of fragmented, isn't it? The unnamed narrator, played by Edward Norton in the film, but the book's quite good as well. Actually, do you know what? I actually think the film's slightly better than the book. That's terrible, isn't it? It's David Fincher. With Brad Pitt, who plays his, it's a Jekyll and Hyde alter ego, but, sort of he falls in love, doesn't it? And it's sort of, the whole world collapses and it plays the Pixies or whatever, and everything falls apart, but it doesn't really matter because he's got what's-her-face, the posh one, Helen Bonham Carter, for his true love. So yeah, journaling. You can do that now if you want to. I mean, sometimes I do it with little kids. We do it with the 5-hand thing. We go, count on your finger, each finger. I do it with the little ones when I do yoga in school. You know, 5 things, small things, only one on each finger. You know, your cup of tea, roof over your head, a nice shower, cosy bed. The dog waking you up in the morning and saying hello. And then you've got your big things, haven't you? You know, the family and the job and the, you know, all these, the big things. So, you know, 5 small things and 5 big things are really important. But the most important ingredient out of the 3, the holy trinity of happiness, cultivating happiness, is self-appreciation. Now, we're going to do an activity which makes self-appreciation easy, because this is this interdependent causality. Because we focus so much on our inadequacies, because we find it so easy, don't we? We think, oh gosh, I've got to be humble. It's a cultural thing as well, because the Dalai Lama doesn't understand why Western people are so self-critical. And it's also a gender thing as well, because women are we're not meant to be both. Oh, it's boasting. Leave that to the men. It's like, oh, well, you know, we're very sort of like focused on inadequacy because we think it's a conceit or a narcissistic tendency or a arrogance. But there's a really, really nice quote by Rumi, Persian poet. Check him out. Rumi a Day on Twitter, really good. Your task is not to seek your task is not to seek for love, but to merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. So these are the ones that this is the massive barrier, isn't it? Not taking a compliment of people. Own it. Totally own it. You know, think about I Rise by my favourite poet, Maya Angelou. She says in that poem, didn't she, that, you know, people are frightened of her because she's sort of, you know, this powerful, strong sort of woman who will not be put down by any kind of critique. She constantly rises. And she's like, you know, one of the best poets for that female sense of empowerment. I love her for it. So when you don't take a compliment from somebody, you're disconnecting from that person, because what you're doing is you're denying the interdependent causality of the fact that you are a consequence of a lifetime of influences. It's like saying that your genetics and your upbringing and your teachers and your friends and the books you've read and the experiences you've had have not had a positive influence on you. But also, this is the opposite inversion of it, is that sometimes you've come into contact with people that you've been brought up with and you've said, I'm never ever going to be them. And I must admit that is true for me too. I have tried to consciously not be certain toxic people in my family, which is absolutely fantastic. But to acknowledge the people that have been involved in this interdependent causality, the consequence of their influence on your lifetime and the sum total of who you are, by acknowledging other people, it makes it easier for you to go, yeah, actually, I'm pretty cool because... So, say for example, right, the most important person in my life, it was his 76th birthday yesterday. I wouldn't be into literature if it weren't for him. You know, W.H. Auden and all this kind of stuff and things like that. I'm not into jazz though. But there are so many people, you know, who have influenced me. And if I don't take a compliment, I'm like saying, I'm dismissing that influence of that person. It's influence on me to love literature. Does that make sense? You're sort of dissing that lovely person that is in your life. So we're going to do a practice where, as you focus on these interdependent causalities of a network of people on you, you are, it's like Ashtanga Yoga. When you do Ashtanga Yoga, you read a Sanskrit sort of acknowledgement to them because they've passed down that skill to you. It's almost like saying, you know, your apprenticeship. All these people, the sum total of these people have made who you are. It's like you denying them. Deny your name. You can't deny the consequences of a lifetime of these influences and these wonderful people on your life. So let's do the practice, because that's so important. So yeah, and then we're going to talk about all this stuff about, you know, bigging yourself up, because you've got to remember, you don't have to sometimes wait. That's what we're going to do on Monday. You don't have to wait for people to compliment you, because sometimes you might wait a long time for people to not recognise your qualities, your good qualities, and some of these people won't. You've got to remember that you have a choice as well to put yourself on the valuables rack as opposed to the discount shelf. It's where you want to put yourself to. Okay, so be a bit more Maya Angelou and sort of like I Rise. Beautiful poem. Might stick it on. But I hope you've enjoyed the little reference. I did put something there about, you know, the idea of your qualities is so important. Okay. It can take a lifetime to like yourself. I'm 50 in August and I pretty much do like myself. Some people do roll their eyes quite a lot at me, to be honest, because I don't seem to have much of a problem when it comes to that. Because at the end of the day, we're all unique, aren't we? And I like the fact that we're all unique, and that's great. We're all unique and we don't want to be all the same, do we? We don't want to be anodyne. We want to be unique. And if people don't like you, then they're not for you, because you will always find your tribe. Your tribe is out there. Your tribe that loves you is out there. And I think a lot of the time, you know, it gives you an opportunity, does it, this time to suddenly realise that, you know, there's been a lot of toxic people around your life, or work, or people at work and toxic. You can cut them out. Eclipse them out of your life. Oof, powerful stuff. Get some nice, positive people around you. Positive people will tell you nice things. Because everybody's unique. Don't hide your light under a bushel. I think that's out of the Bible as well. Measure for Measure by Shakespeare talks about lights and bushes. Not topiary. So, self-appreciation is not a conceit, it's not narcissism, and it's not arrogance. And if you're a woman, you're more likely to be, oh, I can't take a compliment, and please take one. You deserve it. Even, I'm quite happy to be called Madam Ginger. Quite like that, actually. Okay, let's start then. So, see, if there's any, if you're finding any challenge with this, don't forget you've got your resourcing tools, and try and move to a neutral or positive feeling in your body, and stay with a positive emotion, positive feeling in your body. So scan your body if you want to find somewhere that feels light and comfortable, or nothing at all. You can always step away from the practice. But I'm hoping that if you've got to remember this, you've always got to remember, just reflect on it. When you get a compliment, do you receive it graciously, or do you tense up and avoid and dismiss it? Okay. And in private as well, do you find it comfortable to appreciate your own good qualities, and ask yourself why? What is getting in the way of that? If there has been a negative voice put in there, because some people can put it in there, that's another thing about interdependent causality. There can be negative influences in your life that puts them narratives in there. Spend more time with this kind of activity to remind yourself of what your positive qualities are, and have a go. You just don't know, do you? And if you're not sure, spend more time around people that do say nice things to you, because it's nothing to do with the ego, is it? They're just nice people. Okay, let's go for it. So, finding your seat. I'm going to ring the bell, and I'll ring the bell to take us out of it. So you can have a soft gaze. Don't want to spend too much time thinking about, you know, how we're going to do this, but soft gaze. You can just lower your gaze just ahead of your knees, or eyes closed, whatever feels comfortable. Okay, just as long as you're alert and you're focusing. You can always come back to your breath. You can always come to your seat, whatever's holding and support you, or a neutral or comfortable area to distract you if it gets a challenge. Okay, so always remember that you can make space for your feelings and let yourself just be as you are. Okay, so take 2 or 3 nice deep breaths. On the inhale, feel that lift in the spine, and on the exhale, dropping into your seat, just sensing the weight of your body against the floor, or whatever is holding and supporting you. Just feeling the sensations of your hands wherever they are. Becoming aware of the breath just behind the abdomen. And eyes closed, or a soft gaze just gently ahead of your shins or your knees. And as a gesture of self-compassion, gesture of support, as a gesture of kindness towards yourself, you may want to place your hands wherever you feel you need to place them, whether it's on your heart or your belly. And as this is a reflective mindfulness, compassionate practice, as you're connecting with your heart space, less about what's going on above your shoulders, more about connecting really with who you are deeply, core of your being, yourself. See if you can think of 3 to 5 things that you can appreciate about yourself. Just 3 to 5, and just allow them to bubble up from your heart space. Deep down, take your time. Be really honest. There's nobody here to judge you or criticise you. And just really connect with your breath and your heart for those 3 to 5 things. Always remember that in the silence and in the stillness, if we listen, it comes up. And try to think now of each of these qualities, positive ones, within each term, one by one. Just notice one of them. Appreciate that quality. And one by one, as you notice each one of them, just notice if you feel any discomfort, any sensations or emotions in the body. See if you can allow it, make space for it. See if you can experience it just as it is. Remember, you're not showing these good qualities all of the time. You're just acknowledging that the fact that it's true. And just give yourself an inner nod of appreciation for each one by one. Just notice if you can accept or receive them graciously, or do you tense up? If you tense up, just soften, soothe and allow. Just soften around the edges, just relax around the edges of that tension. Place your hands where you need to place your hands, just to soothe that area. And just allow it to be there, in your experience to be just as it is. Without avoiding or dismissing, brushing it away. And then come to that point of interdependent causality. Who are the people who have helped you to develop these qualities? You are a consequence of a lifetime of influences. All your good qualities are not down to you alone. Who are these people in your upbringing, your life, your teachers, your friends, your family, even the books that you've read that have influenced and impacted positively to make these qualities in you? A sum total of all of these interdependent influences that are all causally linked inside of you. And then see if you can picture each of these individuals, each one of these positive people, and see if you can send them some gratitude and appreciation. It might be that you picture them. There might be a symbol that you send, almost like a little floating emoji. And try to linger and savour. Try to linger and savour and dwell on the sensation of you appreciating each individual influence in your life that's made you who you are. Focusing on the positives rather than those people who have shown you not what to be, but shown you of who you can be and have made you who you are. And then when you're ready to let go of this practice, let's see if you can linger positively in the sense that you can own it. Own it who you are. All the positive things. And then just let go. And just allow yourself to be just as you are. Allow all thoughts, sensations, emotions, sounds, just allow them to pass in and out of your conscious experience. Just to be as you are, right here, right now. Comfortable in your seat, feeling the weight of your body against the floor, whatever is holding and supporting you.